It's just a mess. Got a lot of opinions from a lot of different people, Riley. But where do you stand on this whole situation?
Well, I obviously.
Let me give you another quote real quick.
Yeah. I obviously don't know everything about it.
That's clear.
I don't have an expertise on monopolies and civil litigation. So, with that being said, I do have an opinion, and I could be wrong, but just based on what I do know, this is what my opinion is. So, on one hand, I agree with NASCAR. On one hand, I can see where NASCAR is coming from. Like, hey, it's our ball, it's our bat, it's our field. You're going to play by our rules. If we say you can't play, you can't play. If we say that you make this much money, you make this much money. If we say if you're going to show up here, I get to use your likeness, your sponsorship, your logo in anything I want to because it's my field that you're playing on, then I can do that. The NFL has the right to use the logos from every NFL team. They have the right to use the players if they've opted into the Players Association. I'm pretty sure I could be wrong on that. But it's the reason why if you're in the NFL, you're in Madden. You can't really opt out, I don't think. But, in other sports, there are things that you really just don't get control of. Now, in NASCAR, they don't have a collective bargaining group. They don't have a racers association. They don't really have a set-in-stone team owners association that can go and represent the wants and the needs of the teams and the drivers. And I think that is where the argument is. There's no way for NASCAR or for the teams to unify because NASCAR doesn't let them. And you can't tell somebody, hey, you have to sign this by this time or we're going to punish you for not signing this. Yeah. And then put in the agreement that you want them to sign that they're not allowed to sue you over the practices that they are using to get you to sign the agreement. That seems like a monopoly to me. That seems like unfair business practice. And I understand completely where NASCAR is coming from. If I'm Jim France, if I'm a part of the France family, like, hey, my family built this shit from the ground up. I'll be goddamn if I'm going to let Michael Jordan or Denny Hamlin or Bob Jenkins tell me how to run my business. It's my ball, it's my bat, it's my field. If you don't want to play, don't show up. I get that. I understand, and part of me agrees with them. But when you are in charge of the ball, the bat, and the field, and you're also in charge of the company that builds the bats, and the companies that distribute the bats, and the companies that sell the bats to the teams and the companies that sell the wood to make the bats, and it's literally every single piece of information and technology and equipment.
Do you think that's why they came out with the next-gen car?
Oh, of course it is, because they wanted to be in control of it. Yeah.
And instead of the teams building their own race cars.
Yeah, that's why. And that's why the teams don't like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't save them any money. They told us that's why that they were doing it, but it doesn't save the teams any money. If it is cheaper, which it isn't, but if it was, the teams are just spending that money
on something else.
Somewhere else. Yeah. Because you have to find the competitive advantage somewhere else. Now, the issue is 2311 and Front Row are not getting bullied by NASCAR. And I think they have an argument, and I think they're going to win. And the reason, like I said, I think they're going to win is because, like I said, NASCAR is in charge of everything. You have no say as a driver or as an owner about how the sport is run or how the business is conducted. It's, hey, show up and we give you what we think we should give you. Have a good day. When we say jump, you say how high type deal. And I think Denny and I think Bob and I think Michael and I think their lawyer, they've got a great argument here. It's not necessarily about the money. It's about the fact that NASCAR is judge, jury, and executioner in every situation. Nobody else has any say. There is no unbiased third party that makes decisions that can arbitrate between the teams and NASCAR. When NASCAR levels a penalty and it goes to arbitration, it goes to a committee that has been selected by only NASCAR. So usually they're probably going to side with NASCAR because they don't have a job if they don't side with NASCAR. If the teams think they should be getting more money, there's no way for the teams to negotiate that because all NASCAR has to say is, hey, we're giving you the 20% of the race, of the purse that we get off of every race. So instead of that, if you want to complain about it, we're just going to take your charter away that you already paid for. That's unfair. They should not be able to do that. So that's where I think Denny and Bob Jenkins have their argument, and that's where I think they're going to win. Because there is no middle ground. There is no middleman. There is no unbiased third party that has any say in anything. It's NASCAR's decision every time, and if you don't like it, bye.
Yeah, you said a lot there, and I agree with most of what you said. I'm not going to go too in detail. You said a lot there, and I agree with a lot of what you said. But bottom line is NASCAR booming like they were?
No.
20 years. Okay, so here's my problem with this. Like, NFL has a commissioner, but guess what? The commissioner, if he does some crazy shit, the 30 NFL owners can veto him to get the hell out of here. If they don't like what he's doing, he can't just do whatever the hell he wants. And NASCAR's kind of the same thing. I feel like it should be in that way. Not everybody has to agree. This is a world where a lot of opinions take place, a lot of viewpoints, and it's part of what's wrong with this country right now is, if you don't agree with me, then there's something wrong with you, or you're wrong and I'm right. No matter what you say, no matter what facts you prove to me, no matter what you show me, I'm gonna stick by my opinion. And some of that is fair, I guess. If you're true to yourself and you don't want to agree to certain things and facts or whatever. The problem is NASCAR is at a place right now where, yes, it is not declining like it was 6 years ago, but it's not booming like it was 20 years ago. And NASCAR needs to look themselves in the mirror and figure out how to get back to that point. Now, you probably won't get back to that point ever. I don't think, maybe, but you want your sport to be in the best position it can be. And the way it is right now, with your short track sucking, your driver personality is not really a whole lot of them there because they're scared to say what they want to say. You got the teams losing money every year. You got a car that's a spec car that not a lot of people liked, that you told them, you built for them, and they got to get parts from you and the distributors and all that stuff, can't build their own race cars. And then you tell them that they have to sign this charter agreement no matter what you say or what they say, whether they agree with it or not. That's not right, in my opinion, And I agree, it's their sport, but no other sport is run like NASCAR. And if NASCAR was still booming like it was 20 years ago in the early or late 90s and early 2000s, 2311 in front row ain't got much of a case. But the fact is that, there's tons of people that have stopped watching NASCAR over the past 15 years because of something. whether it's how the playoffs, the chase, their favorite driver left, or just the way the rules are now, how it's run, just whatever it is, teams getting run out of business. I mean, hell, how many teams have to shut down their operations the past 6-7 years? It's a lot.
I think I can't.
Hell, Furniture Row won a championship and had to shut down the next year.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem. Like, I don't understand how NASCAR can sit here and say everything's perfect with this agreement. Like I said, I've not seen the agreement, so I don't know what the agreement entails. But it feels like a lot of these team owners, the old heads, just agreed to it because they just didn't want to deal with the headache anymore. Rick Hendricks, one of the quotes I didn't say, he just said, "I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of this ongoing negotiation about it. I just want to get it signed, and I got too many employees." RCR, same thing. Like, all these old heads are just like, "I'm done with it. I don't agree with everything, but, it is what it is." And I'm not saying the team should get everything they want, because they shouldn't. But I just feel like NASCAR is just, it seems like they haven't said anything really, but it just seems like they know what's best when the sport is not at the healthiest point it has been. We've seen NASCAR booming, and it's not there right now. So let's kind of take a look in the mirror here, NASCAR, and say, hey, what's wrong with us? What can we do better? How can we get more fans? How can we get more people excited about our sport, instead of just throwing the hammer down and saying, you're doing it this way no matter, I don't give a shit what you say. I don't give a shit how you feel. You're going to sign it, or we're going to get rid of your get rid of your stuff. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah. We'll see. It's going to be 10 years before we get any
I'm about to say, it's going to take 2,
decision,
3, 4 years for it to get settled.
The most interesting thing that we're going to have to find out in the coming weeks and days is how they decide whether or not the 2311 guys in Front Row Racing are going to be able to continue racing, because they have not signed the charter agreement.
I was about to say, what do they do?
They're probably going to give them what's called, I think
Temporary
it's
charter.
an injunction, I think is what they call it, which is like a stay.
A playoff
like
waiver.
You can't treat, essentially, you can't treat them any differently right now because of this litigation. So you have to treat them as if everything was okay until the litigation goes through.
Now, do you think if it was a bigger team, and Michael Jordan's the biggest sports name out there, but he's newer as far as ownership goes to the sport. Let's say Joe Gibbs is part of that. Is part of this lawsuit. Do you think NASCAR is more afraid or more willing to negotiate?
No, and the reason I say that is because I think they knew that the bigger teams were going to sign, because they are already kind of committed, right? And I know that Front Row and 2311's committed, but like Joe Gibbs has been doing this for 25 years, like 30 years, 35 years now. Like they know how to make it work. So they're going to be more likely to side with NASCAR here. Like, hey, we're making it work. It's not that big of a deal. We've done it this way for this long. It is what it is. Same with Roush, RCR.
A lot of these guys, though, they lose money because of the racing, which is not.
Well,
I'm not saying it's always.
But
been
everybody
not
does.
like that.
Everybody, you don't make money in racing. If you own a race team, you're not there to make money. You're there to break even. You try, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. says that that's the goal of the Xfinity team, is to not lose money. There's an old saying, and in racing, if you want to become a millionaire in racing, you better start with $1 billion, because you're not going to make money. You could win every single race, and you're not going to make money.
Do you think that's a problem, though?
Yeah, well, it is, because it's too expensive to race, and that's part of what NASCAR is trying to fix. But if NASCAR wasn't trying to make as much money as they could for themselves, more of the money could go to the teams, and here's the other issue. Once the teams make more money, guess what they're going to do? They're going to spend more money.
Yeah.
They're not going to pocket that money.
Yeah.
They're not going to they're going to.
But they could ration it out more to the drivers and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're going to pay for drivers, which is fine.
And crew members.
They're going to pay for
like
crew members. They're going to pay for simulators. They're going to reinvest it into making their team go faster. So the owners are still not going to make money.
Well, why do you think it's another? It's about the last thing I'll say. Like, we've seen all these when we were kids. We grew up. There was an M&M's car. There was a Budweiser car. There's a Miller Lite car. There's a Coors Light car. There was all these big. I don't know about a Walmart car, but there was all these big brands that were involved in the sport back in NASCAR's heyday. How many of those still exist? None. There's hardly any. Busch Light. I love Busch Light. I love it to death. Anheuser-Busch. Same company as Budweiser and stuff like that. But nobody cares about the Busch Light car back in the day. It was called the NASCAR Busch Series for the nation or the Xfinity Series back in the day. It was called the Busch Series. Nobody cared about the Busch car. You know, if there was one. People cared about the damn Budweiser 8 car. Dale Jr. That was a big brand. Budweiser, you know, Earnhardt. I'm gonna drink Budweiser because that's my favorite driver. It's Earnhardt. You know, you go to Dale Sr. with the damn Good Wrench car. I'm getting my tires from BF Good Wrench. You know, I'm going to the shop. You know, I'm not going anywhere else because that's my favorite driver. And that's how you attracted fans. That's how you got people invested in the sport. And nowadays, you don't have. I mean, you have fucking. What was that sponsor that me and you were trying to figure out this past weekend at Talladega on AJ's car?
It was an investment firm.
Who the fuck cares? I don't give a fuck about an investment firm. How does that hit me in the heart? I don't give a shit about no investment firm. How do you think a 8-year-old kid named Timmy cares about an investment firm on AJ Allmendier's car? Or would you rather see a fucking M&M's car? Why are we losing all these big sponsors? You know why? Because the business model is broken.